Hi guys, thanks for tuning this episode of the Nick Egan Times. On this episode, we have an awesome guest. We have Bobby Simmons, Stetsasonic, who is an internationally well-known American hip-hop group. Stetsasonic originated from Brooklyn, New York. Stetsasonic had 3 hits in the top 40 in the US Billboard charts. These songs included Sally, Talkin, All That Jazz, and Float On. Stetsasonic was one of the first hip-hop acts and pioneers to perform with a full band and use live instrumentation in their recordings, paving the way for future hip-hop bands such as The Roots. The band combined beatboxing, sampling, technology, and live band performance, incorporating R&B, jazz, dancehall, reggae, and rock into its sound. Stetsasonic is also considered one of the first acts that pioneered the jazz rap genre. Welcome and thanks for coming on my podcast, Bobby.
Thank you so much, man. Glad to be aboard. Wow, that's good information right there.
Thank you. How's it all? Yeah, that's all right. How's it all been going over there? How's life?
So far, everything is going pretty good. And with the whole pandemic going on, we had to figure out a way to keep moving. We had an album to finish, so thank God for technology. We was able to put together this project, this album, to get it out there. We didn't want to wait, so we had to keep ourselves busy. So things is going pretty good over here. And we're opening up a bit, so we're moving slowly, but we're moving.
Amazing. And I guess from the pandemic perspective, how has that affected you? You've obviously had to adapt it to the technology as well, as just you alluded to. Has that affected you any way personally or professionally?
Well, I mean, the only way it affected any of us is that we weren't able to. Well, beside myself, everybody, we all live in different areas. Like Daddy-O's in Houston, Prince Paul is in Atlanta. I'm in New York. Delight is in New York. Wise is in Virginia. So we're all over the place. So we had to figure out a way how we can get the album done. I'm the only one who actually was in a 24-track studio during the pandemic, me and my engineer only. And, so it almost affected us. But again, we had to figure out a way how to navigate through it so that we can, continue to do what we had to do safely, of course.
Yeah, for sure. All right, tell me about how Stetsasonic initially began and the journey from, obviously, I believe you guys all met in New York and you're from New York.
Well, yeah, actually Stetsasonic originally was just the 2 members, which that was Daddy-O and Delight. They're actually the 2 members that formed this band. But we all grew up together in Brooklyn, in the East New York, Brownsville section here in New York and Brooklyn. And, but Delight and Daddy-O, there were other members in the group, that wound up not sticking with, the format. So what Daddy-O did was he started looking for pieces that was going to, create this concept of an idea of, because we all were fans and still are fans of like Earth, Wind and Fire and Ohio Players and, some of the great bands of the 70s. And we wanted to create something like that in hip hop. So what Daddy-O did was he handpicked everybody in the group. A guy like Fuquan was handpicked because he grew up with us in the neighborhood in East New York. Prince Paul, we saw Prince Paul DJing at a block party in Long Island. And he was doing so good that Delight and Daddy-O was like, who's that kid? And, and at one moment, Prince Paul was scared because we looked like a gang of, coming after somebody. And we was like, no, man, we like what you're doing. We got this group and we want to know if you want to be a part of this group. So after seeing Paul was handpicked and also Wise was handpicked, for doing beatboxing in the mix machine. DBC actually was picked first. DBC was up in, upstate, keyboard player. And I actually was the last one to be recruited as, the drummer come in. So we all grew up together, but the group came together just being really handpicked by Daddy-O and Delight and knowing what we all had an idea of what we was going to put together of being the hip hop band. Let me make this clear. Delight he pinned that name, hip hop band. That name didn't exist in the 80s at all until Delight pinned it. So I just want to make that clear to everybody else that's been saying they're a hip hop band. They had no idea what that was until we pinned it.
Wow, that's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. I guess what has given the longevity to Stetsasonic? Because you guys have been around for obviously such a long time. It's incredible the longevity you've had.
Well, the longevity was us being friends and then being enemies. It was I mean, you have to realize a group goes through everything, and I will speak on behalf of Stetsasonic ourselves. We had some great times, but then we also took a break. In 91. We took a break in 91, and we all departed and went our own ways, and we were all working on separate projects. So we, and that was because of differences in the band. Everybody was, Prince Paul was producing De La Soul, and Daddy-O was producing, a Biggie Smalls and his group Junior Mafia. And I was doing movie scoring like Rocky V and Tales from the Hood. So we were all doing separate projects. I guess you could call it at that time we was all feeling each other because we were our own producers in our own right. So I guess the longevity is what kept us together, is the friendship of and the love of what we created as a hip hop band. The one thing I can say Prince Paul had always said, the best time he ever had with Stetsasonic is when we on stage performing live. So we know that we all feel the same way. Some strange reason, well, I don't want to say strange reason, but when we get on that stage and we hit and we do like that hour or 2 hour show, we know nothing else, and we just have a great time. So I think that's what keeps us together. It's the fact that we truly, really enjoy like doing what we do as a group. Now, personally, we will clash, but the one thing we do love is the music that we do.
That's fabulous. I guess, what is the motivation behind the music? So the process, all the songs that you've done in the past albums, what was the motivation behind them? What was the inspiration that made these songs, and what was the process, I guess, as well?
Well, I know let's go album from album. So we talk about the first album, On Fire. The On Fire album was basically an introduction to let people know who we were. Right. Because in hip hop back then in the 80s, you basically had your MCs, your DJ, and then at the time, you saw slowly coming dancers dancing with the rappers. Well, we could dance, but we're not dancers. The one thing that we knew that we could do, everybody had a part in the group. Me as a drummer, DBC as a keyboard player, and Prince Paul as a DJ. So we became the band. We had to actually use the elements of what we had to create the music. And then Wise as a beatbox, who would do a lot of great percussion sounds to balance of what we were doing, the DJ, the keyboard player, and me as a drummer. And then you had your MCs. So that first album basically is the approval stamp. And even sonically, when you listen to it, we rarely did any sampling on that album. What you hear on that album is the stripped down version of a hip hop band. Just a live drummer, a DJ scratching, and a keyboard player playing bass lines or synth sounds. And then Wise doing beatbox on top of that. So the inspiration was that we had to figure out what kind of act or band we wanted to be. We couldn't copy everybody else, because if we copied Run DMC, everybody would have said, "Oh, y'all copying Run DMC," or we would have copied the Fat Boys. So we didn't want to be a group that was copying anybody else. We had to create our own vision. Look at the light right there in the building. And Wise. What's up, brothers?
Hi, guys.
What up? Can you see me? Yeah, I am. Let's get it on.
So let me introduce him to you. Right here on the bottom, what's that? On my left right hand side, under you, Egan, is the one and only MC Delight, and right under me on the right hand side is the human mix machine, percussionist and MC.
Peace.
Nice to meet you guys.
What's up?
And this is Stetsasonic.
Yes, sir.
So,
yes, sir.
Bobby was just telling me about the journey and talking to the first album. I guess, do you guys have any insights into it as well that you'd like to share?
Well, let me interrupt the guys. He was basically asking what inspired Stetsasonic's musical ability, and I was explaining to him that the first album, On Fire, was our way of getting a stamp of approval of letting people know who we were and who we were becoming as a band. And that On Fire album literally sonically explains who we were, because that's a stripped down album completely. Like we rarely did sampling in that album.
Very raw, yeah. That album was very raw.
And plus, to give to add on to what Bobby had said, it was also to sort of like, chronicleize the vision for hip hop in general. Songs like Forever My Beat, My Rhyme, they were more than just braggadocio rhymes. They were rhymes that idealized what hip hop meant and will mean to future people that will get involved, and the present people that were involved at that particular time. If you were to listen to the rhymes carefully, you see us lay out the format of the love of hip hop that we had then and that we still have now. The love of hip hop that exists with other artists as far as how they feel about my rhyme and how they feel about their beats. That's what the On Fire album is all about also.
Incredible. And then I guess let's jump to the second album. Talk about that.
In Full Gear.
You know,
Delight, just kick it off, Delight.
You know how, you got the stick in the car, and you rev up the car, you know what I'm saying, when you put it in certain gears and stuff like that. Well, that's what was done with that, in regard to, again, the topics, the subject matters, is to put certain things into perspective on not only how we feel, but how B-boys were, and hip-hoppers were feeling in general. You know what I'm saying? It was a education type of album, edutainment, as my man from BDP, KRS-One would say, So, that's what it was all about. Talking all that jazz, Sally Wall. We can go on and on, with the titles and cuts on that album. So, it was well planned of putting things into perspective of our feelings about hip hop in general.
And that was a growing point for all of us too.
Musically.
Musically, particularly coming off that first album. And we were all of us in the band, in the group. We had love for every MC or artist that was putting out records back then, whether it was Just Ice, Big Daddy Kane, Biz Markie, Dougie Fresh, the Fat Boys, Run DMC, Public Enemy. We had love for all those cats. We were listening to what they were doing, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't get in their path, because back then, if you tried to sound or copy somebody else's style, you was really going to get called out and your career really could be over. So we had to make sure we carved out a lane that nobody can copy from us, and we succeeded.
Yeah, 100%. You basically created initially a whole genre. So yeah, like your type of music's just amazing and incredible that you've released. And then I guess falling into the third album, what about that? Talk about that.
What you think, Wise?
Blood, Sweat, and No Tears. Yeah, Blood, Sweat, and No Tears. It's a good album and stuff. We definitely grew. Again, musically and stuff. On that album, I was doing a lot more rapping on it and stuff. Little by little, I was growing. You know what I'm saying? And to me, the album. I mean, it didn't get the play that it should have gotten, stuff like that. But I felt it was a very good album.
So you want me? I'm sorry, Delay. So you want me? Listen. I told Egan I was gonna tell the truth. Like, you want the Stetsasonic story? I'm gonna give you the Stetsasonic story. So the Blood, Sweat, and No Tears album, all of us, every member of us, Delight, he had his production, Platinum Vibe Productions, and Wise was preparing for a solo album, and Daddy-O was already doing his solo album and doing stuff, and Prince Paul was already producing everywhere. And by the time we got to do that Blood, Sweat, and No Tears album, we were all over the place.
Yeah.
And however we put that album together, I even told Daddy-O this and told a couple of guys, I said, I don't even remember what the album sounded like. I would have to play it again to realize we did a good job. But during then, we didn't think, because it was like we were all over the place. And at that time, we was on the brink of, the band was disbanding at that time.
Yeah,
so,
we were, just to add to it, Bobby, there's a lot of things, at that particular time that was on my mind that made me even come up with the title Blood, Sweat. Usually, they have Blood, Sweat, and Blood, Sweat, and Tears after that band, after that group. But when I took that particular title and I said No Tears, it was a sounding of the horn that, we have our love for the game, and we're not going to cry about it. You know what I'm saying? Although we had a lot to whine about at that particular time,
right.
Because of, pretty much the relationship with the label had sort of like deteriorated at that particular time.
Yeah.
Between us and Tommy Boy. And that is what I was feeling at that day and time, that the relationship had deteriorated. But we're not going to cry about that. You know what I'm saying? We're just going to do this album. We're going to put our blood and our sweat, and we're going to do this, and then we're going to call it a day.
And we ain't going to cry about it.
We ain't going to cry about it. We're going to call it a day. So.
Now you want to hear the secret to about that album? Let's forward what we talking about, Delight and Wise. We talking about what was that, 91? So we talking about almost 20 something years, 29, 28 years since that album was released. Man, we find more people liking that album than the others, and we're like, are you out your mind? You mean to tell me you listen to Blood, Sweat, and No Tears more than you listen to an In Full Gear? But me and Daddy-O, we sat down the other day and we found all these particularly young kids finding a liking to that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're not supposed to like it, but a person like me who produced the album with the guys is a bit surprised, because I would think our greatest work was, the first and the second album, but we proud that people found their way around to it.
Yeah.
And the thing about it at that time, whether, young guys that knew it or not, I was done recording for Tommy.
Oh, no, we knew. That's why I was explaining, Egan. I was like, yo, you want the Stet story?
Yeah.
I was done.
If you want the Stetsasonic story, we'll tell you.
People don't know that, and that's why we chronicleize, within the first single, of this oncoming album called Here We Go Again. We made sure that people understanding that, we the best thing that you ever lost, as we say. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But we would have definitely been recording all the way through the time, because we knew who we were and what we basically had to offer. But we couldn't do it under those circumstances, the way in which things were going at that particular time. So
Tommy Boy, they didn't know how to market us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're the original hip hop band. That's what we call ourselves and stuff like that. So Tommy Boy did not know how to market that. I mean, they could have marketed us, the same way they market De La Soul and everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Because we're still hip hop. That doesn't change. The only thing, we just go out with a live band. and we also, do our music in the studio, with instruments and stuff. So, but it is what it is.
Yeah, thanks. That's incredible story, obviously, and thank you for sharing. How did you guys get, I guess, re-engaged and formed then? So how did that transpire, that side of things?
I'm sorry, say it again. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
How did you guys reform again? So how did you, I guess, how did you get back to creating the music again and getting back in the game for it, I guess?
Well, I mean, go ahead, Wise, go ahead.
I would say, Bobby has a lot to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Because he started he started hooking up the shows for us and stuff like that, and little by little, we started talking about doing the album and stuff. Bobby, you could take it from here, man.
I mean, we've been coming in and out doing shows even during the mid '90s. People would call us and say, "Hey, how can I get Step back together?" We would do pop-up shows, in New York or certain places. So we were always gigging. I think our problem was that we were just having an issue with the record company, and we just had to wait that contract out before we decided that we was going to put out another record. We wound up looking at doing a deal back in '95 for an album, which never happened, but which people can find it though on vinyl. Those are like the lost track. Y'all can get them. What is it called? People in your neighborhood. Y'all can find it.
Yeah.
Those were the tracks that we recorded during the '90s. But we didn't have to really reinform ourselves. We were always getting together to do stuff, particularly when it came to shows. I think we kind of got serious when we said, okay, we tried it the first time. Let's take a jump at this again and we can do a new music in a new album. We were never worried about the new artist that was releasing music. We're never scared of them. We ain't scared of none of them artists that's out there. We know who we are and what we're capable of, and we're not followers. So we don't have to use auto tunes and try to do features on our records so we get clout. We Stetsasonic. Y'all should know who we are. If you don't know who we are, you're gonna learn. So we never had a problem with that. So doing new music was never a problem. And most of all of us, we were producing songs anyway with other artists. So we were always working.
Amazing. What, I guess individually and collectively, what's the best advice, that you've learnt in your careers?
Go ahead, Delight.
The best advice, one thing is, to continue to, learn the business and the business of music. That's a lesson we learned a long time ago. But continue because the music has gone through a big change, because at the advent when we began, music at that time, or hip hop, was being perceived early on as that it may be a fad and that it would not continue, which was the reasons why we did albums such as On Fire and In Full Gear. And at that particular time, we were visionaries of what we knew this music was going to evolve into. And so, nowadays, we're just looking at just establishing again Stetsasonic style of sound, and we'll be putting out a lot of different types of sounds and directional music, in hope to inspire not only of the younger people and the older people, but also some of our peers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the advice that I can give to people is, the one thing I've always learned years ago, what someone said to me, I said it to them, and I'm keep saying it, is that make sure this is what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Because the business really, when they say the belly of the beast, it really is. And you gotta have the stomach for it. You gotta have, thick skin for it. And truly be true to what you do. The one thing that I can only speak on about only for Stetsasonic is we was true to what we wanted to do. We never said, well, let's just settle in order for us to pop off. Let's do this. We was like, no, let's go back to what started this, what made us happy. And if it sounds good to us, it's got to sound good to somebody else. And that's what we're more concerned about. I mean, ain't that why Bruno Mars is hot right now? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, he does, he definitely take a page out of the book of the throwback. But if it sounds good to him and his people, it's going to sound good to everybody else. So my advice for everybody, to stick to it and understand why you're in this business and your reasons why. So
amazing. I guess, what does the future look like for Stetsasonic now? So what's in the works?
I can tell you what the future look like for Stetsasonic. We got a new joint out right now. New single is called Now Y'all Giving Up Love. And we are very, very excited about this new single. It's definitely Stetsasonic. It's definitely Stet style and Stet sound. Which, just, for you to know, that's how the name Stetsasonic came about. Style and sound. So, it's a great song. It was a song that we used to perform as a freestyle when we went over to the Netherlands, when we was in Helmond. And we loved the track, performing to the track so much that we said, when we get back home.
And the reaction to the track.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the reaction to the track because no one's never heard it. When we first performed that track, we performed it in Helmond. We was in the Netherlands. And, we was doing the festival. And the people was like, yo, that's a hot track, but the guys were freestyling to it. So when we got back home, guys, I got on the phone. I said, guys, write something to it. And cats got together and they put something together to it. And it's a great song. We want everybody to please show love and support. It's on all your digital platforms, Spotify, Tidal, Apple. Go wherever you go. And we got vinyl too. We got special vinyl for people if they want to purchase, like a Ret 45 vinyl and stuff like that. So the future look good for Stetsasonic. We have an album that we're preparing for, and another single that's produced by The Light called Here We Go Again, which is going to be pretty big. So the future look good for Stetsasonic. We on it, and we might be. I keep it a secret for now, but we might be nominated for something, but we just have to wait to see.
Wow, that's amazing.
hey, and the thing is that we are going to do some things that will be historical and revolutionary as far as because there's never been a bunch of guys. They probably call us old heads now. You know what I'm saying? That's paving the way for the younger generation or our peers that's coming behind us. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you have this new onslaught of new music and new ideas to bring a refreshener to the total game. Because a lot of us, I love the young guys and stuff like that, but a lot of it is just the same talk. I had a young guy with me the other day, and he asked me, to put on his Bluetooth. He wanted to turn on his Bluetooth so that he could play some music, and every track he was playing was, as he would call it, because they were gang related. And that is not what the music was meant to be. You know what I'm saying? And that's my beef with, the media in general. Y'all can do better than that. There's more money than just in that. You know what I'm saying? And why would you try to pigeonhole us in that kind of way? You know what I'm saying? The music was meant to be entertaining. The music was meant to pass good messages to all races, creeds, and whatever the case may be. That's what the music was all about. You know what I'm saying? So it's about a renaissance, so to speak, of the styles of what was the ideal and approach to hip hop back then and what it should be right now. We're just here we're not here to remove nobody, but we're just here to add to. There's more homes on the block that should exist even in today's hip hop.
A lot of today's hip hop sounds like a really long 12-inch, you know what I'm saying, or 24-inch, whatever you want to call it. It's just an extension of itself, and it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going.
What it sound like? It sound like a disco record.
You know what I'm saying? Like an extension, you know.
Yeah,
and,
they have a lot of titles that they call it mumble rap and stuff like that.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that I had cats bring me, wanted me to listen to their music and stuff like that. And, and the rhyme is basically, the same as the next guy and the next guy. They just switching the lyrics up a little bit and stuff.
So what you tell them,
when
they bring it to you, Wise, what you tell them? Hey, this is a long disco record. That's what you tell them?
Yeah, it's, you know what I'm saying? That, it needs change because everybody seems to be rapping about the same thing. They just switching the words around.
Could you cut this record short?
Thank you guys, for sharing everything. I think it's incredible, your journey, everything you've done, your pioneers, your legends. Thank you for coming on my podcast. And I do appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. And once again, we want to let your audience and everybody know, please show us some love. The song is called Now Y'all Giving Up Love from Stetsasonic. All your digital platforms, please support. And, we hope that, join you again, man, and extending some more stories because we got Stet stories for you.
Yeah, I can't wait. Quickly, what's one of the funniest stories you can share from your history that you can remember quickly, briefly? What's one of what's one that stands out?
Oh man, y'all, what? There's I don't know about. Go ahead.
There's like a whole bunch of them. Remember Bobby the Drink, man? But
I can see. Well, look, let me share two quick ones for you. It'll be very quick. Sure. The one funny one that I can remember is when we all was in Germany. Follow me, Wise and Delight. When we was in Germany, this was the tour we did with EPMD. It was the EPMD and Stetsasonic Info Gear tour. It's 1988 of October. We out in Germany, and back then they told us that those German audience, for their appreciation, they spit. Am I lying?
Yeah.
They spit at you.
No, you're not lying, but go ahead.
Right. They spit at you. And we was like, yo, that ain't how we do it. But all we remember was when EPMD was on and they spit at EPMD and a big fight brawl, just everybody was just in the audience just fight. But the guy, the promoter, was trying to tell us this is how they show the appreciation. But we've never been to Germany where we perform, they say ho, or they shout. No one spits on us. You know what I'm saying? And that's one moment I know that we experienced that we was like, we ain't with this. So when we come out here, they're going to do something different. The other funny experience is how we met Prince. When Prince came. Right. He was called Prince again later on. And he came, we was performing in Minneapolis. And we performed at the First Avenue Club. And the promoter told us that Prince was coming to see us. And we was like, get the guy, he ain't no Prince coming to see us. What are you coming to see Public Enemy and Step for? We did 2 shows that night. He came to the second show.
Yeah.
Wow.
He came to the second show, stood in the corner with his long, blown out hair with these black leather gloves on and a long black trench coat. And he was just standing there looking at us. And the guy introduced us to him. And all he did was shook our hand and said, nice to meet you. And that's it. But it was a cool moment.
Yeah, it was.
But for Daddy O, well, that's another story. But anyway, so yeah. But anyway, those are like some cool moments that when we read some stories. But we got lots of them. But you got to sit and do a chat with us on those. We got
Yeah. I'll get you guys back on. We'll definitely do it. We'll go through all the stories because I can't wait.
Definitely, man. Thank you for having us, man.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
All right, now.
Okay, thanks a lot, man.